Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome back to an episode of The Pipeline. This is going to be a very special episode of The Pipeline, mainly because this is the first episode where we've ever covered a series finale. Of course, a series finales always like a weird feeling. I think there's always kind of like a weird like atmosphere about getting to like say goodbye to a show that we followed for several years now. But today, joining me once again, Darth Bunyan. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
It's good. It's good. You good?
I am good.
Rocking the new
In
hairstyle as well. Got to be pointed out. Looking good.
Thank you. I know it's a weird change of pace, but it should be back before no time. Um, in
Wish
the
I could say the same.
Miata in the chat. Thank you, Miata. Always supporting this channel. It's always good to have you. Nice intro. Thank you. I guess very few people come at the very start, so I guess not many people see the intro. So I guess that kind of makes sense. But we actually have quite a bit to talk about. Obviously, our main topic today is Titans, talking about that final episode and just the series as a whole and some of our favorite moments and all of that jazz. But before we kind of dive into that, we have quite a few news stories. Some of these have just come out, like within like the last 2 hours. Some of these have been kind of like sparkling throughout the last week or so. But let's kind of get into breaking kind of news as of today. We have a couple of Marvel stories. I bet you've probably seen these already. So it's been a weird year, I guess several months for like Marvel, because we haven't known what's coming out this year. Like it's been very weird because like things are getting pushed back, things are getting like we don't know what's happening with certain shows, but now we know a couple of things for some of these shows. So starting out with Loki. Now, I loved season one. I loved season one so much, and I've been so excited for season two. The only show, as of this point, they get a second season over on like Disney Plus for like the Marvel shows. So Loki season two will premiere on October 6th. I think this is a good time for Loki. I think, especially this year, where there doesn't seem to be a lot of TV like this upcoming fall due to like writer strikes, due to shows not getting filmed, due to so many shows getting canceled. What are your opinions on this date? Are you excited for it till it come back? All,
Super
all
excited. Super excited. Just to quickly go back onto your opening point, the fact that we're saying goodbye to a show
mhm.
um, is like I kind of feel like Titans is giving us the training wheels for 2 weeks from now because we're saying goodbye to a show we care about.
Yeah,
But in 2 weeks, something we care about a lot more is coming, and we're going to be saying goodbye to
yeah.
it. So it's going to be a lot of tears. So this is where we get the practicing, guys. So
This
you know,
it's a weird time because a lot of shows are just coming to an end all at once. I know,
yeah,
like Barry is like ending. That's and like there's a whole bunch of shows that have been going on for a while, which are finally just now like stopping, and it's going to be crazy. And a lot of shows are getting canceled currently, so
yeah,
I'm grateful. And again, I think that shows like this. I know we joke on the MCU a lot, but I am very happy to get some Disney Plus shows back. It's been a while. It's been since
yeah. Oh,
August.
yeah.
It's been almost an entire year without any Disney Plus shows, and it's such a weird thing because like I think we often complain about there being too much, but like the way they have paced them has been very weird. Like I would have liked one every 4 months or something,
I
spread them out a little
genuinely don't know what everybody's complaining about. I
bit.
loved the schedule and could have done with a lot
Sure.
more, right? Always to do with a lot more, especially how well they were doing. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got to stick up their ass, and I don't know why. Um, Honestly, so again, back to another point you said of Loki being the first to get a season two.
Hmm.
Um, yes, although I'm still on the boat that Moon Knight is season two is coming.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I guess we're supposed to be getting What If at some point. Like I know that was also supposed to be this
yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
We were supposed to get that last year, so I don't know what's happening with What if it's even still coming out. So yeah, I'm excited. Do you have any like expectations for season two or kind of things that we might
So many,
get to see?
so many, so many. Okay, so Darren saw my board before we started. I was sat cleaning it as we began. Right, it was crazy. That's the kind of brain I had on at the end of Loki season one. Um, honestly, I kind of feel like this is the kind of first show that's needed a second season. Like the other stuff is kind of bridging stuff for other people in movies. You know what I mean? Like Star for Doctor Strange, Sam and Bucky for New World Order, and Bucky is for Thunderbolts, I believe. So everybody's been kind of like springboarding from movie, like kind of down with it saves exposition. Do you know what I mean? And then it keeps movies tighter by having these shows, which I really appreciate. Plus, it gives us what I wanted from DC, really, and kind of what the animated intro promised us with that legion of heroes and villains of characters, you know. And it just feels like a really big wide universe, and I can't get enough, honestly. But my expectations, sweet Jesus, right? So, like, if I'm so confused because I was fully expecting, I was there, I was ready to put money on it that the Kang that we were going to see in Ant-Man Quantumania was the Kang that was not He Who Remains. Was the Kang that was like at, you know, the one that took over at the end of Loki.
Mm-hmm.
So like basically, there's always going to be somebody that has like the idea of He Who Remains in using Elias, which depending on how time works in the MCU, obviously, like they say like there's branches, but there was also a timeline in a loop, so they kind of have their cake and eating it. Who knows?
Sure.
You know, the Kang the Conqueror that like died, right?
Yeah.
I think died because Red Skull got messed up just the same kind of way, and here we were in Infinity War saying, "Hi, buddy, how you doing?" So I'm fully expecting that Kang to just be materializing somebody else, and he could be He Who Remains. And the reason that he was ejected by the Council of Kang is because he was like thinking of using Elias, which would be the only thing that would cause their reality's issues, mainly that they can't control.
Yeah, I'm thinking that he might ultimately be the main Kang. Like, I think I could see a world where he kills like all the other Kangs and he becomes like the main one or something. I don't know, maybe. But no, I also think it's a weird one because this is Kang's next appearance, and there's been a lot of controversies with this actor. Obviously, I love this actor's work. Like, I love what he's done with Kang so far, but I think there's definitely going to be like an awkward thing where like, oh, what are we doing here? And you know, I think I assume I don't think we're like recasting for this show, but I wonder if this will be his last appearance as Kang or what the future will hold. I wonder if they because this was supposed to be summer. I wonder if it was supposed to be, and then they're like, well, we need to wait for things to calm down a little bit and then have the show come out. So I'm very curious to see how they will handle everything.
Okay, so this is interesting, right? So for me, see, no, they could do it the other way, but I would say I would want the recasting on screen. Do you know what I mean? But they didn't with Rhodey. You know what I mean? There's precedent for them doing it off screen, and you have to deal with it. So it's just the fact that, you know, with Quantumania, like Loki was sat there and going, "That's the guy. That's him. He's right there, and he's super dangerous."
Sure.
It's just a man in a tent. Like, oh, I'm so excited, honestly. Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston work phenomenally off of each other. Where Ramona Renslayer's gone, who knows? That's a whole thing. Or is it Ramona or Ravona? Either way, it's M or a V. See, I wonder if, like, obviously, because I believe it was Scott Derrickson that was going to do Doctor Strange 2 before Raimi took over. So he was going to be doing Nightmare, wasn't he? And then obviously they made the joke in the number one. I would love for them to like maybe explore that a bit more, seeing as Doctor Strange seems to be going for the dark dimension kind of route with clear and stuff. So that seems like an unexplored avenue. plus just the whole Time Bureau in general. Plus, also, there kind of needs to be an answer for how does a retcon happen in a place that exists outside of time and space?
Sure.
Because He Who Remains was in a separate place outside of time and space in the Citadel at the End of Time, I think it's called, right? In that wonderfully designed place. And then you've got Time Bureau, which exists elsewhere, which is why he had to be teleported there, right? So it's like a whole thing of they're in separate places. He died over there. Now somehow somebody else is automatically taken over and already has statues up. And the whole lore, excuse me, of the Time Masters has gone up in smoke. And it's now some guy, okay, forget the curtain. I'm the Wizard of Oz and I'm in control.
Yeah, no. I do think it's kind of funny, or I guess interesting, because Loki does seem like he's going to be the center of a lot. Like, I think his story with Kang, with like the Time Bureaus, which seems to be in like Deadpool 2, and then Avengers, and it feels like this is like the main story that we're telling throughout this entire phase, where like a lot of the other projects for like this year with like Echo and like the Marvels and Secret Invasion seems to be on like a whole different story. This seems to be like the main Kang story. And I think this show is going to do a lot to push everything further into phase, I guess, into next year, where we get a lot more bigger projects, because like next year we have like Captain America 4, we get like not Deadpool next year, but like a lot of those like bigger projects leading into Avengers, I think. So I'm curious about the show. I'm curious what they do. And I hope it's good. Like I really enjoyed season 1. I hope it keeps that going. Like I think it was so good. This is the first show that I felt like I was watching a show. Like each week I'm like, yeah, it's a show. Like I think a couple came close, but I think they all kind of like dropped the ball towards like the very end. Like it always kind of felt like, oh, like this is like it felt like a movie, or like a special, not necessarily a show. But I'm very excited to see how Loki comes back.
In that, did you think it felt that way because they always kept going for a cliffhanger? Because they always did kind of leave you in a place that like making you want to come back. Do you think that's why you got that vibe maybe?
Well, I think Loki did that too. I just think it was those last couple episodes that just kind of fell back into that like Marvel like movie formula. And I don't think that's always bad. Like I think like those like 6-episode events are really cool, but I did want a couple of like more structured type shows that felt like shows. And I feel like Loki did that. I think Miss Marvel almost did that. Like I felt like Miss Marvel was kind of like on the trend to do it, but that like weird middle bit I think kind of dragged it along a little bit. And I think She-Hulk almost did that as well. I think She-Hulk felt
they were close. They were close.
Like that felt kind of like the most like it could be a show. But moving on very similarly, same kind of topic here. Go ahead.
The mechanics of the universe, the multiverse, which started to be explained in Loki season 1, in Doctor Strange season 2, Doctor Strange 2 specifically. I feel I would hope, and I really, really want like more of the same, because there's like a lot of I feel like there's a lot more than just the worlds can't keep colliding, connecting, or it's going to collide and then everybody's dead. And stuff like that. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of untapped ground, which I'm hoping to see in Loki season 2. Excuse me.
Alrighty, so nextly, very similar to this topic. So all the episodes of Echo will come out November 29th. So this is interesting. So this is very in line with like what Netflix would do, where they would drop all of the episodes with like your Daredevil, with your like Jessica Jones, your like Luke Cage, your Iron Fists. And I know this show is kind of in line with what those shows were, but this seems like a weird choice. This feels like not a like artistic choice, but like a studio being like, what do we do with the show? Because this has felt like a very weird show for a while now. It's a show that not a lot of the common audience knows about, which is why I'm excited for this, because I'm excited to learn about this world and about this character. but apparently the show wasn't like, the show was very much rushed. They weren't done in the way they wanted to be done, and they kind of had to just get it out, which has been a fear of mine for a while. Like, I'm very afraid, because like we've seen what happens when Marvel rushes their projects. Like, that's not, especially like, I like Phase 4, but it does feel like a lot of their projects were like, all right, let's get this out, let's get this done. So I think I'm a little concerned about them dropping it all at once. It kind of like, this gives me the vibe of like, we just need to get this out. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay, and when I say this, I mean this like in the nicest possible way, right? But you know, like the kid that gets bullied to the teacher, gets them to hang around with the teacher, and then it kind of just makes it worse because the kid then gets bullied for hanging around with the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of feels like, just on my own presumption, that they would release all of the episodes so there's less bagging on it. Do you know what I mean? So it's just, they get to see all of the story at once, so there's not everybody griping on it, hating on it, like, oh, no one's watching this show, look at how shit it is. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They get just the wham bam story, and then they fully enjoy it. But then I feel like criticism is going to come in because they've released it all at once, because they haven't treated it like every other show. So it's kind of like swings and roundabouts, really.
I think it depends how it's structured, because I do think some of these MCU projects, again, that felt like an event or like a movie, could have benefited. I think WandaVision would have worked great as they drop all the episodes all at once, as like almost like a movie type thing. Maybe Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight could have felt like, because that kind of felt like one long kind of story.
I think you picked two of the ones that like each week I was sat there like holding on, like I need to know what's happening. I have so many theories that are just waiting to explode in my brain. So like each week I got that excitement. If they released it all at once, I don't know if I would have.
That's fair. WandaVision did feel like an event. Like, it felt like that was the first time. It was such a weird experience. I think part of it was helped that we didn't have like Marvel projects for like a year and a half. So, but there was something really special about that first half, where each week everyone, like, it felt like the whole world was watching. I think that was a really cool feeling. So yeah, maybe not that one. I don't know. There's a couple that I think you probably could have done this with.
Captain America's, Falcon and Will the Captain and Falcon.
I could see that.
Captain and Bucky. That would have done really well.
Sure. I think that could have just been a movie.
And like Sam, and that suit, honestly.
Yeah.
I've seen the things with the picture for the other one.
Mm-hmm.
I dig it. It's cool, but he rocks that comic book suit so well. It's insane. Honestly, it's rare. Obviously, Grant Gustin with the other one and stuff, but like that would be it's not the easiest suit to pull off, and he makes it look phenomenal.
Yeah. It looks really good. I think around this also, I'm wondering how long these episodes are as well. And I guess also, because I assume there's going to be about 6. There's usually about 6 to 8. I'm going to assume 6 here. I wonder if they're like full 45 minutes or if they're like 30 minutes. Because I think most have been around that like 30-minute mark, right?
I think so, yeah. For the most part. I mean, I think Loki was... I want to say Loki was 45, but I'm not sure. I know the whole was half hour.
I think the ones that were 45 also had like 10 minutes of like credits, so like pushed it down to 30. Another thing that I think is kind of, I'm a little worried, not worried, but like I want to warn people about spoilers for the show, because we know there's a couple of special characters in this. We know about Matt, we know about Kingpin, and there's even been rumors about like Jessica Jones in here. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know this, like the like first hour this is out, those screenshots are going to be everywhere. Like, Matt is going to be all over Twitter, and I do feel bad for the people that are going to have to get spoiled for this show.
Oh wow. Okay, so so I think you just said why the hell it's been released all at once. Like, that is a shitstorm, isn't it? That they've just put them in. Jesus Christ.
I know Matt and Kingpin definitely are. I'm not quite sure about Jessica. I think that's just like an ongoing rumor.
And obviously, it's going to be the same Kristen Ritter, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh man, they're really putting this show on the flames, aren't they? Oh my god! Wow. See, I would have said, like, if I was going to ask about characters, and I would have guessed Kingpin's son, the Rose. That would have been an interesting person to have in, because it wouldn't have been it wouldn't have to have been the more successful physical or outsmarting foil of Daredevil. It could have been the kind of familial side of it of, oh, I can't like do this, and this, so he's kind of getting away with it. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of gives him credit elsewhere, which could pile up onto other things and just widen the universe even more. You know?
Sure. I'm very curious because I was hoping the show was going to come out this year, not next year, because Daredevil is next year, and I really don't want Daredevil to get pushed back. Like, it might still because of all the writer strikes and stuff, but I am wondering also what happens here that leads into Daredevil, because it seems like the ongoing rumor is that this Daredevil Born Again and then Spider-Man 4 are like one giant kind of story, and we don't know how true that is. But if that is the case, I'm curious what the consequences here are going to be leading in.
See, the thing is as well is like Kingpin is obviously, because of how they've done Spider-Man villains already, for the most part, Kingpin is going to have to be formidable by himself.
Yeah.
For a while before he starts like all the employing of everybody else. That's really interesting though. You know that everybody's going to be sitting there waiting for Kristen to talk about the Defenders and everything else to validate Daredevil and see what is in and what isn't in. So all of the Netflix Daredevil fans are going to be watching this like hawks.
Sure.
You know? So I'm really hoping that is it Mike Poulter? No, Mike.
You're talking about Luke Cage?
Does it see Mike? Yeah. What's his name? Mike Coulter, something like that. He's really cool. I'd like to see him back. He was really cool as Luke Cage. And honestly, talking about pulling off costumes, that man had the whole not like the quote unquote tiara, you know, the big I think he had a big yellow shirt on. But yeah, he had his old Mike Coulter. Was I right?
Yeah. Okay. Yep. I am curious to see how much they put in the Daredevil show, because I feel like this could be like a secret Defender sequel type thing, because 18 episodes is a lot. That's a lot to fill in. We know obviously Kingpin's in here. We know Punisher is in here. I know they have said that Foggy and Karen aren't in here, but I have a feeling that they still are somehow. I would be in 18 episodes. I have a hard time believing they couldn't fit them in one. And apparently there might be a season 2 as well. So I would be. I think there's a reason those actors aren't here. And I'd be curious to.
Sorry? Isn't in it? What the last person?
Foggy and Karen from the Daredevil show.
Yeah, no, sorry, I thought you said somebody after that.
Okay.
You have to have them in, right? I mean, what's he going to be doing? Going to work by himself? The
current thing is that they are not in the Daredevil show. So we don't know why. I know a big theory going around was that it takes place during the blimp, the blip. So they got blipped away and he stayed. That's the current theory, which I think would be cool. I really like the idea. The first half takes place during the era, and then the second half takes place in present day or something. I think that could be cool, but I don't know. It's it all comes down to fan theories and rumors and I think the MCU is so weird, man.
I feel like we've done it enough.
Huh?
You know? I feel like we've dealt with that enough. It's happened. Everybody's in support groups and everything like that.
I would argue we haven't spent enough time during the like blip though. Like I feel like most of it's post blip and like the consequences of that. I feel like we haven't. Have we had anything that takes
I
place
would agree.
in
I
that
would
5-year
agree.
gap?
I would massively agree, but my argument would be that it needed to happen before now.
Sure.
And secondly, if they are going back to during the blip, then it would be more of a Hawkeye kind of like interference situation more than Daredevil, because like that's when he got on their radar, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping, for me, I'm hoping it's dealing with the like basically Daredevil has found out that she blinded Kingpin. Kingpin's got a contract out on her. So now Daredevil's trying to help her. She doesn't
Sure.
want Daredevil's help because she thinks he's just a whole big part of the mess anyway. So then maybe the kind of intermediary person would be Jessica Jones.
Sure.
And also in She-Hulk, I feel like the line "Your people talk to my people" was said with Jennifer, and I'm not sure if it was She-Hulk and Matt, sorry,
Yeah.
Jen and Matt, or with the new boss that she was getting when she was hired.
There was a line that like referred to like friends or like people or something.
Yeah,
And that felt to me as like a way of like, okay, we can try and mention something without actually mentioning anything.
exactly. Like Karen and Foggy could
Yeah.
fully work there, you know.
Sure. Sure. I do want to move on here because we do have quite a few stories here, and I don't want to get too behind track. So next one, very short. I'll be honest. I am not a wrestling fan. I don't know much about this, but maybe you do. Are you like a like WWE fan or like anything like that?
Not since I was little. Not
Okay.
since I was little.
So I don't know much about this person because again, I never grew up on wrestling, but apparently Seth Rollins has been cast in Captain America: New World Order. There are some set photos that came out. I don't want to pull up the photo that everyone on Twitter is talking about just because it is leaks, and I don't like supporting those too much. And I would like to wait until we get like an official photo or a trailer or something to talk about those.
Right.
But do you have any opinions on this casting, on who this character maybe could be?
This might just be like a bias, but Jean Saint Pierre did such a great job as Batroc the Leaper. Dave Bautista as Drax,
Mm-hmm.
The Rock as everything he's in, you know. So the wrestlers transfer really well. So I mainly because I think they are actors on the stage as well. They're stage, you know, and that's what they spent their whole lives and career doing. So I think he's going to do really well, and I think I think he knows the standards are high because you see it everywhere, all over the headlines. You know what I mean? It's criticize this, criticize that. So he knows what he's going to be throwing himself into. So I don't think he would be doing it short-sightedly, for sure.
Yeah, no, I don't know much, but I hope he does a good job. I hope he enjoys his time over here. Don't know who he's playing or what he's doing, but I bet he'll do a good job. All right, so wrapping up our news segment. So obviously this week's been really fun, and I think that this week is going to be the start. And I think now throughout like the July era is going to be a big casting era for the DCU. Now, there's been a lot of speculatory, there's been a lot of rumors about the cast of Superman. I don't know if you've seen any of these going around online. And again, I have to warn, none of these are confirmed. These are all the like this person thinks that this is all headlines and people said this. So again, don't take any of this with a grain of salt. So this is all just very but the first one comes from Lex Luthor. Now, I quite like this idea. It took me a minute. I wasn't sure if I liked it at first. So Nicholas Holtz as Lex Luthor. Now, at first...
Oh, sorry. I thought you said it came from Lex Luthor.
No.
Like what?
It's Lex Luthor. No. He's like, no, he's Superman. No. Now, I'll be honest. At first, I didn't see it. But the more I look at it and the more I think of like a young playboy rich kid that like ends up losing his hair. I kind of like it because I think Lex, like this version of Lex, is going to have to play the long game. Like we are dealing with a younger Superman, and the idea that we are also going to have to be dealing with a younger Lex, sort of like what Smallville did, is kind of, I kind of like it.
Are you thinking more bald Rosenbaum or bald Eisenberg?
What's that?
Are you thinking more like when you say you're imagining him as just like some bald rich kid that just starts becoming like a bane of Superman's life and stuff? Are you expecting more of a young like Rosenbaum or Eisenberg? Because they're very.
I imagine more Rosenbaum because I think that this could be the first time since Rosenbaum when we have the chance to grow with Lex, and I think that's what made Rosenbaum such a special casting, right? Or like such a special adaptation. Was like for the first time we get to spend like 7 years with this character, and I almost think that this could be our opportunity to do that again here. But we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, so this is the thing though. So I've only seen him as a bad guy in like the menu.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so how do you think of Lex? Do you think of Lex as like smarmy? Do you think of him as kind of like weaselly? Do you think of him as like physically non-threatening? Because I would argue that oh no, I'm going to forget his name. It's like Titus or Dimitri as something phenomenal. The guy that played Lex in Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, he wasn't smarmy. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't like the kind of like wheedly little like intellectual person that has to beat Superman because he hasn't got any physical strength. He had his own presence, you know. So you knew that he was a smart person, but then he also kind of, like I say, he had that presence. So I don't think Nicholas Hoult would have that. He's too nice.
Sure. I also, and I know we talked about this last time, I think it's the job of an actor to like transform themselves. And I also think what I love about Lex is I don't think there's one kind of Lex. Like each person that has jumped into this role is so drastically different. Like Michael Rosenbaum is so different than like Jesse Eisenberg, and is so different from John Cryer, and is so different from each one is so drastically different. And that's why I don't think I ever get tired of Lex. Like I sometimes get a little tired of Joker just because I think they can sometimes feel very similar to each other. Not always, because I do think there are a mix. But like Lex feels like each version has a different motive, has a different feeling, has a different presence. Which I don't know.
Like a knockoff Lex, isn't it? But a Joker is very easy to feel like, I can see what you're trying to do there. But Lex is a much more open game. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. I'm excited to see if there's any more of these, if there's any like if any more rumors start to come out, or if he is going to be, because it seems like he's connected to this project either way.
Look at him. Look at that picture of Lex right there. Yeah. Right, he looks jacked in that suit.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I also want to point out that this would probably be again a young Lex. Like this would be a Lex who's probably, he could still be in college, maybe. Like he's probably, I don't know. We'll see.
Do you think they're going to go young? They're going to have the friendship turn?
I would like that. I would actually really like if they went the
I would too.
I don't think the first villain should be Lex. I think that'd be a misstep. I think at the earliest movie 3, like end the like trilogy with him. Like I think Lex should be the like Thanos of the like of the like Superman trilogy.
He studied him. Yeah, I like that. That.
It'd probably be too young for this version, but I would love like President Luthor. I think I don't think we do that here, but I would think like a President Luthor story would be really fun. But to say that he's like connected to this project either way, there's other sources who think that he's playing Superman that he's the casting of Superman, which is so funny because I've seen both people so passionate about each one. Now, I don't personally see this one. Like, I don't, like, and I see that man, I don't see Superman. But you can argue the same for, like, a Tyler Hoechlin or, like, a bunch of these other actors who maybe didn't fit the role. I don't know. I would have to, like, see, like, I would be very speculative if he got the role of Superman.
Very, very. And again, nothing against him. Like, super nice guy, you know, phenomenal actor.
Yeah.
But okay, this is another thing. It's like you said, like, so there's a lot of different types of Lex.
Yeah.
There's different versions of Superman. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes he's like so wide as hell, and then other times he's just like a normal dude with like some muscles and stuff. So what kind of, again, younger version, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. He could be any physicality. So what kind of thing do you think you would like to see?
I don't love, like, massive Superman. Like, I don't love, like, animated, like, massive, huge. Like, I think Tyler and I think Henry kind of fit the bill pretty well. I think they're strong, but because they also have to fit in as Clark. Like, they have to look like the, like, normal man, you know, like, clumsy dork. And I could see that from this guy. Like, I could see him as Clark Kent. I don't know if I'd see him as Superman. But maybe that could change. Like maybe I see him in action and was like, whoa, he's actually great. I have no idea. Like, I'm not a casting director. Who knows?
See, that's the thing as well, is I got nobody that I can say that's who I want.
Sure. Superman's weird. Well, I think in general, I want Superman to be someone I've never heard of. Like, I want this man to, like, become Superman. But I also think Superman's, I don't want to say it's easy, but, like, I feel like the casting is not hard for Superman. Like, I feel like there's a lot of options when it comes to casting his character. He's not like other DC characters where it's like, oh yeah, that has to be perfect, you know, but it feels like Superman
would be harder. Batman is harder, for sure.
I agree.
Because obviously you've got to look good as Bruce Wayne, but then that cowl has to fit and look good. And
Superman, I hate to say it, but, like, white man, like, strong white man, that's kind of like the risk. Yeah.
The end product too hard.
Sure. And then this last one, I think all of these options here for this next one, I'd be down for almost any of them. So that's for Lois Lane. So there's 4 potential outcomes that's been going around. So out of these 4 here, I didn't see it at first, but as soon as I heard Emma Mackey, I kind of love that casting. I don't know if you've seen Sex Education at all. She's absolutely brilliant in that. And obviously we have a bunch of great actresses here. Rachel Brewman and Phoebe, which I know her from Bridgerton, and she's really good there. I think Lois Lane's another actress that could kind of just folds into that character. Like, I think just like Lex, I think you cast and then you create the character around that actor. I think almost all the great Lois Lanes have done that. And I don't think any of these actors are, like, massive actors. Like there's no Man of Steel, Emma Adams. Amy Adams. Like Amy Adams was a star going into Superman. I don't feel that with any of these actresses here. They all feel like I think if I were to pick one of these, I would pick Emma Mackey. I think she feels the most Lois Lane to me.
I haven't 2 out of the 4 been, like, detrimentally compared to Margot Robbie.
Yes.
I can't help but think that's a coincidence. Also, again, you're right about, like, the way Lois Lane works, but it depends how you want to go, right? Sure. So, like, I was sitting there thinking about the journey we had with Bitsy Tulloch, right? Because for me, like, obviously Margot Kidder go, right? But Bitsy Tulloch is just breaking barriers and smashing everything. She's just dominating this Lois Lane game right now. But when we first got her, we did not get her big moments. She has earned these,
Sure.
right? Say that anybody has to, but what I'm saying is coming out with like a big phenomenal swing right out of the gate instead of like spending time showing us like that's what your character's about is going to be harder to sell.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's going to rely really heavily on the charisma of the character and how they pull off
Sure.
what they're trying to do.
On-
I would say Phoebe would be good for the more romantic side of it, I would
Sure.
say, and then maybe obviously Emma or Samara in like the investigative side of
Sure.
Lois. And I would like for Lois Lane and Clark to know each other, but I don't want them to date yet for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I want there to be some kind of mystery still.
Sure. Yeah, no. I think the perfect sweet spot is I think they flirt. Maybe they're at the very beginning. I don't want her to know that he's Superman yet. I want a bit of that back and forth.
Yeah.
And honestly, with Lois Lane, I would cast Superman first and then do like chemistry tests with all these actresses with Clark, because I think that's the most important thing, is that back and forth between Clark and Lois. I think that's such a special thing. I think that almost every Superman had that. I feel like Amy Adams was the only one that maybe didn't, but I also don't think she was given that much of a chance either. I think the version of I think the story we told in Man of Steel didn't really give us the chance to have that like back and forth between Clark and Lois.
No.
But yeah, no, I think I would be okay with any of these actresses. I think they would all do a fine job.
Yeah, for sure.
With that being said, we took 45 minutes talking about that stuff. I did not mean for that to happen. But let's talk about the reason that we were here today, to talk about the series finale of Titans. So kind of right off the bat, Darth, what was your opinion on this episode? The final episode ever of Titans.
Right off the bat, Trigon got punked. Again, right? So they need to decide what the hell they're doing for sure. Well, can't even do that anymore. They're done. They're finished.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it's. I said we're putting training wheels on for the Flash. The Flash better not do this, right? The Flash is bringing back season 1 stuff, and I'm loving it. It's great. But if they don't stick the landing, if they mess up the way they did, I mean,
yeah.
Darkseid and Superman singularly struggle against Trigon, right? And then you've got Brother Blood messing him up with the Devil's Toothpick. I don't understand. I had to check in with everybody on Lance's stream and say, is there any precedent for Brother Blood being able to do this?
No.
None. Just a low-level guy they thought could punk one of the old gods.
Yeah. It's weird. It's very clear that they could not do Trigon. Like, I would have, like, it's very clear that they did not have the budget or the resources to handle this character, at least in the way they tried. Like, I think you probably could have done like a human vessel type thing with Trigon, where like he takes over someone's body or whatever to fit. Like, I think what the Arrowverse learned very early on is what they can and cannot do, right? They cannot use, like, if they want to use these certain massive characters, they have to learn how to not make it fully CGI, and they had to learn how, like, to film at night and to do all these things to make these things look better. And it's very clear the way they used Trigon, they could not use Trigon. And I've argued this with Beast Boy throughout the years, where there's almost a feeling that I have where, like, well, if we can't use Beast Boy, why did we introduce Beast Boy, right? Like, the fun of Beast Boy is he can turn into all these like different animals and stuff, and when he doesn't turn into animals, it's kind of frustrating. So it does, like, there's a lot of Titans villains we could have brought in instead of Trigon, and I know Trigon is such a massive Titans villain. I know it'd suck if we didn't do anything with them. But I don't know.
Fail. They could have just accepted. They could have just accepted that and moved on. We did.
I appreciate them trying to bring it full circle here at the final season. I don't know if that was intentional for the final season, because it did not feel like they knew it was the final season until later. Like, it felt like a last minute, like, oh, we need to wrap this show up just in case.
Okay. Would you have rather, one, they didn't bring him out at all? Two, he comes out and then says to Sebastian, "Oh, you did well," and then backhands him and then wipes him out, and then he was the bad guy? Or three, that they worked together?
I don't think they had the budget for them to work together. Like, I just don't think they had the capabilities of, like, Titans versus Trigon, you know, as they wanted to. Honestly, I would have been fine not seeing Trigon again.
For sure.
I didn't need Trigon.
Sure.
I never, like, he's, I don't know. And I'm curious how future Titans adaptations do it, because I really do think we will get it soon. Like, I don't think we'll have to wait that. I think James Gunn will do a Teen Titans thing sooner, like within the next 7 years or so. So I'm curious to see how they handle this character, because I think Trigon is a really cool villain. Like, I think, like, for the, like, Teen Titans with Raven as such a centerpiece to this team. Yeah, no, I mean, I would have either at the start, I would have either made him, like, gave him a human body instead of, like, a weird CGI
like
monster.
Like season one, yeah.
Or not done him at all. Those are my two options, I think. And, you know, maybe you could have done, like, Malice in season 3 of Legends. I know a lot of people didn't like Malice, but, like, you have the human thing the whole time, and then last minute you have the big whatever.
That's what I was thinking of. I was sitting there like, I don't want to bag on Legends because I love Legends, but even Legends done it better, right?
Yeah.
And they were super hit and miss with their monsters as well. I mean,
sure,
like the technical thing on the building looked great, but it didn't look great in the shot. Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it's fully hit and miss. And if Marvel handled Galactus, DC have no excuse anywhere across the board. In my opinion,
that could look really weird. with Marvel's track record recently, that could look wonky. But I know James Gunn has recently talked about, like, doing a lot of, like, practical effects and stuff like that, like mixing. Okay. I think, like, Guardians proved that he can do it. Like, I think a lot of these characters are going to look really, really cool. I'm so excited.
So good. It was so good. But yeah, we'll get to that. But okay, so Titans for me. Okay, so this is another thing, right? The end of the episode. Mm-hmm. I ended up doing like a whole binge because I dropped off after season 1, like literally the finale. So I didn't. I saw the absolute bag of poop that Trigon was. I was like, right, I'm timing out, you know. So so I did like a whole binge and I caught up for the end. And then I was here for the whole season and I watched that. So I think it was season 3 that Starfire lost her powers to Blackfire, right? And there was that whole.
Season 3 was a Blackfire, yeah.
So what in the hell was that final scene about, where Starfire now has the fire of Tamarin again?
Well, she's never flown before, which I didn't even think about until, like, this episode. Like, I was like, oh yeah, she hasn't flown. Like, that hasn't been an ability that she's been able to do.
No, but like, what the hell? That doesn't explain what the hell has been happening for the last however long in their time.
I'll be honest. I have the worst memory with Titans. Like, I cannot tell you anything from, like, the first 2 seasons. Like,
I'm not going to pull out my board. Don't worry. Yeah. Right? So basically, Starfire was born and Blackfire was born. I forget who came first. I think Blackfire came first, or no, Starfire came first, right? And they were waiting for the fire of Tamarin or whatever to maybe develop in her, and it didn't happen, and her sister was born with it. Witch lady comes along and says, hey, she's supposed to be the heir. She's supposed to have it. We can do a whole switcheroo. Nobody needs to know. Obviously, politics happens. People find out. Blackfire found out and was pissed. She spent her whole life being sent away, and Starfire's the one and pushed up, right? So then she takes her power back. The whole time we're sitting there thinking she's a villain, but Starfire's like, you know what? I just found out you were right. I'm so sorry. Here you go. Yeah. So then now we have Starfire's power that she originally had, you know, which may or may not have been key to her destiny in season 1 anyway. Do you know what I mean? So like her parents could have been setting her up to fail by lying to her in the first place. Who knows, right? But then the second that her destiny is fulfilled, she loses the power which wasn't even explained. It was just different. It was just different. We didn't know why. We didn't know how. It would just look different. And then all of a sudden, because that's over and done with, now we can crack on with the thing that we ruined her sister's life for however many years. There was just like you said, they got told we're gonna end, so kind of like maybe wrap it up a little bit. I get that. But there's just so many things that they left hanging, and they kind of like chucked them in. So we're sitting there going, "Oh, it's so nice," you know. But like you're just sitting there going, "Oh, but I want to know why." So
Starfire does just kind of feel like a character that they haven't quite known what to do with. Like it feels like there's been an ongoing story about like prophecy and her connection with Blackfire, which I'm still upset Blackfire was not like a main villain. Like I think that was a missed opportunity.
Was great as well, wasn't she? To be fair, she was a great actress. She did really well.
But no, I have a couple of notes here that I do want to kind of go through the episode. So in general, what did you think about Connor this season? Because Connor had a whole like this episode, he was like knocked out half the episode. They gave him like red kryptonite, which I thought was kind of a pool out of nowhere. But then he comes back at the end, and I am glad he, like, by the end, he was kind of back with our team. But it felt like last episode, it felt like such a sudden switch. Like, he was full on evil for a good 4 episodes, and now he's just like, I'm fine now, I guess. I don't know. Connor was my favorite character, and I think this season botched him, in my personal opinion.
Wow. Okay. For me, I got it, right? Smallest violin in the world here. My dad left when I was 5, right? So for the longest time, like I had daddy issues, a bit of like identity issues with like your whole masculine side of myself and everything else. So him being fresh out of the test tube and being rejected by the father that he idolizes, and then being accepted by the one that he knows he shouldn't. And then kind of wearing that hat, do you know what I mean? Like, and then putting it on, and then sitting resolute in his choice. Again, like a child would really, you know, like I'm doing wrong, but somebody likes me and they said I'm doing well. I'm carry on, you know? So like, I fully get it. And then I liked the turnaround, honestly. I liked when he's like, when Dick was like, "Oh, so what? You don't think Superman's going to approve?" And he's like, "I don't approve. I don't approve. I've been really just not liking any of this." Yeah, I kind of dug it.
I like it in concept. Like I think Superboy can be such an interesting character. Like I love the concept of like have Superman, have Lex. Like that's so much fun. I think it's just maybe the execution for me and like the twit. Like I think I wish there was more of a I don't know how I want to say this, like a lean into it, like a slowly, like it kind of felt like it was just like a light switch, like on off. There wasn't like a oh, this is, I want to do this because this means this to me. It felt like, oh, I'm going to do this because I'm Lex Luthor now, like I'm evil, and like it felt like there wasn't a like transition period for me. And then when it comes back to like rejoining the team, I guess that makes a little bit more sense to me because half the time he was like faking it, which I get, but also I think he's usually smarter than that. Like I felt like he was a little dumbed down this season.
Ironic because he was playing off of his intelligence.
Lex, yeah.
I forget, was his transformation after he got by the snake?
Yes, it was after, I think.
Okay. That could be like another reason maybe why he was like leaning into Lex, maybe because obviously. Maybe. Yeah.
I think there's also, and I don't blame the show for this at all, but I do think the final season of him spending it bald was a little bit frustrating. Again, not the show's fault. They did not think this was their last season. But I don't know. It was frustrating, and you know, he did his hair at the end.
He pulls it off, and you know
yeah,
what
he does.
It's weird. Like he pulls it off so well that when he came back with hair at the end, like I'm sitting there going, "Oh, that doesn't look right." That just fell off. But he did really play his cards close to his chest. You know what I mean? Like I get what you mean. If there are like even a few more indicators with his team.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, yeah. I know we're not supposed to like Mercy Graves, and I really didn't.
Yeah.
She was just the worst person. She was just the worst person.
Kata, no, I never promised that. I thought about it. Yeah, I have thought about it because I could probably pull off the like TV Lex look with like the beard, but no, you'll never see me with a shaved head.
That's what I'm going to be going for. Like literally, once this grows out and I don't have just male pattern baldness on my damn face as well. Apparently, you know what I mean. Once this starts growing out like yours, boom, this is getting bicked away, and then it's going full Lex Luthor.
My grandpas, like neither of them lost hair. They went like higher. Like they went white. So like each year they look like Santa Claus. The beard goes white, the hair goes white. So I'm expecting to go white at some point.
Lucky.
So they're honestly like I was trying to write notes for this episode. It's kind of hard because things just kind of happen. Like it was kind of like fight after fight to like tech Jarvis to this and this. But Brother Blood wants to open like a wormhole and he wants to like pull Earth in with it. And I didn't hate it, but it did like at the end to me, it did kind of feel like it kind of just felt like a master plan came out of nowhere. It's like, all right, now the evil plan is here, and now I'm gonna turn. I'm evil because reasons.
Loves me. Yeah.
Yeah. It felt like very 90s villain. Like he honestly, this whole season has felt like I think Brother Blood is a very 90s villain.
Do you think the series could have? So when do you think they got told, like in the story and filming, that they need to like wrap stuff up?
I don't know, because I think the season was filmed a little while ago. And to me, like outside of the finale and like some callbacks to like Trigon and stuff, it did not feel like a final season at all to me. Like I think outside of that, maybe like this episode, that was it. Like them bringing in Trigon again and all the characters being like, we're going our separate ways, which we'll talk about in a minute. None of it felt like final season. I guess besides that, also characters finally getting costumes, but that just felt like a like evolution of the show. Like I felt like Beast Boy was just finally getting a show, and that sucks. Like so many characters got suits this season that barely got used. Tim Drake barely used it. Gar barely used it.
And in my opinion, Tim Drake looked the best. Perfect. Right, Brandon, so good. Like Brandon, led the way with his Robin suit because it looked good. It really did. I didn't like Jason Todd, and then Tim Drake's just wow.
Yeah. No, I think if there's one show, and then I know some people disagree with me, but I think if there's one thing the show does well, it's costumes. Like I think almost every suit looks so good, and like for the first time in this episode, I mean, I won't say the first time, but like one of the only times in this episode, it felt like, oh, they are the Titans. Like they like seeing the like Nightwing suit, like Raven's white suit, and Tim Drake's suit, and Gar's suit all together was just gorgeous. Like it felt so like I felt like, oh, this is a comic book show. This is why I signed on to the show.
Do you mean at the fake out when they charge Brother Blood's apparition?
There's that scene, and then there's a scene at the end where like they're looking up at Starfire and like kind of how all the suits together. It's like, oh, it looks so cool. Okay, and like it does feel like a lot of the show there wasn't a lot of them being Titans, and I'm not trying to like beat on the show too much, but it did feel like a lot of it was like, oh, and now we're the Titans, and then they go their separate ways again. Like each season there's like a bit of that, And it's like, I
Yeah.
want
You know what? You raise a good point. There was more of Dick and Barbara being criminals, which really griped my gears. Honestly,
them.
I'm not going to get into it because I'll be here for 20 minutes. But how in the hell are you vigilanteing people when your whole thing was to drum up business? You're going to start grand theft. Get the fuck out. Right. Anyway, but we also dealt more of the disillusionment of the original Titans
Yeah,
than like you
sure,
say, like the grand here we are Titans. Do you know what I
sure.
mean? We had fucking Jason shouting in the camera like, "Woo, we're back!" But they weren't properly back, like you said. You know?
Oh, I remember season 2, the like first episode where like Raymond's like, it's Titans 2.0. I was like, there's never been a 1.0. You know, like you haven't been a team yet. You can't say that. No, I mean, it's been a weird issue for me, and like I think Titans is a frustrating show for me because I think it has all the ingredients to be an amazing show. They just didn't cook it right, and I think that's such a frustrating issue because the cast is good. They have the biggerish, but not a big budget, but they have a bigger budget than a lot of shows do. The casting is great. The costumes are great. They have an arsenal of characters that are so rich and so amazing. Like each season's villains are really cool, like Deathstroke and Trigon, and Scarecrow is weird, but like Jason Todd and like, all these characters that can be really cool, and I just don't think the show ever used it in the way that I wanted them to.
Yeah. They're heroes as well. I got up IMDb just to kind of like have it in case I needed to reference something when we're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot honestly how quickly they got into everything. Like by episode 2, we're already with Hawk and Dove and exploring the old team and the mysteries of while diving into the new and creating that. Speaking of, they did have some really good moments, like the Hawk storyline, for example.
Yeah.
Loved it, absolutely loved
Sure.
it. And I think it played really well in their universe as well. Like because they're able to like drop the F bombs and go that little bit harder. I think like it wouldn't have worked as well in the Flash. It would have been a lot like Kitty Glove kind of dealt with it, you know, like PBS specials, whatever. So I'm just annoyed because, like you said, there's a treasury of characters that just did not get utilized. Donna Troy, I'm assuming that actress is off busy because she's still in London, as far as we're aware of this with the story. Because she went to visit somebody else as well.
Yeah, she left the team, which I will say I think was a good move. Like I think one of the biggest problems I had in earlier seasons was I thought there's too many characters. Like there's too much to balance each episode. This season kind of felt like the perfect, like, okay, we got our cast. Like we got a good 6 kind of main characters, and I think they all kind of had their time to shine this season. None really felt left out. Where like last season, like Raven was in like 4 episodes, and Gar kind of didn't have much to do, and then Dick died because they had to make room. Like there is season 3 is so much going on all the time. I
had a real problem with season 3.
Yeah,
like, real problem with season 3.
I like the first half. Like the first half was the first time I was really enjoying it, and then I think the back half falls off really hard. Like it really drops the ball.
That's when like because Jason really like comes into being the villain, like the later back half, and he just doesn't feel threatening as a Red Hood. You know, he kind of feels like Weller to me, and that it was just all attention seeking.
I think we'll talk about this in like a little bit, but I think just him being Red Hood on that season anyway, it was weird. Like it was so rushed. It was so like Jason Todd Red Hood should have been like a season at the earliest, like a season 5 thing. Like he should have come back much later, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have a topic here that we will talk about in a little bit. But as we kind of get into the end of this episode, we kind of have this scene where like everyone's like, I'm going my own separate ways. And again, not their fault, because I think obviously they wanted to give the show some kind of closure, some kind of ending, but it I don't know, it felt very forced. It felt very, oh, we are ending now, we need to wrap up all these characters right now, and it didn't feel like the point any of these characters should have ended. The only one I kind of thought felt right was Gar, because it did feel like we've been building up to it all season with him like going into the red. And everyone else felt very, okay, we need to send these characters off now.
Yeah, because Raven, yes, that's where she would have ended up, but
Yeah.
to go there now
felt very weird. Yeah, like this felt like a 2 years from now thing.
Yeah, because you saw it in Dick's face. Yeah, I mean, I felt like a little bit of the actor was coming through there when Starfire was like, we need to just hang up our capes, dude. Like, you know, come on, let's just go be. I don't know how. I just don't know how to give up. You know, I can imagine him running around Vancouver with them batons, you know, just messing people up. Who knows? Gotta watch out.
Miata, I agree. I think they needed maybe at least one more episode. Like I think Brother Blood, I think he needed one more, because I think him just felt like he needed more to be like an actual villain and not like Sebastian, I guess.
Okay. So back to what you said about too many characters for the show. Do you think that then they should have not handled the original team stuff, or would you think that could have been held off till later, or kept like completely separate for flashback, so it was more of like an allegory thing, you know, like with Oliver Queen? So like the not always the flashback was connected, but the meaning behind it was.
It's tough because I really like the idea of there being an original Titans. Like I think that helps you build this new team. I think it adds a lot of history to this universe. I think the issue is they just didn't have enough care. I think they didn't have enough episodes. I think Titans is one of the rare shows where I say give them like a 22 episode season. Like give them more time to flesh out these characters, these stories, this world. At least in the early seasons. Like maybe not this season. Maybe that would have been too much. Like season 1, I think could have easily been like a 22 episode. Season 2 as well, I think could have easily. And then season 2 was the one where it felt like we got so many at once. Like we had like Jericho and Jason and Rose and Superboy and Donna and Hank. Like there was like season 2 was like the peak where it's like you have like 13 characters and I don't know what the like. It's so much. And they're doing so much. They're like there's a lot. Like you could have had literally 2 separate teams and they still would have been solidly sized teams. Kata, this is a topic we will be talking about in just a couple minutes once we kind of wrap up this chat here.
Dude, psychic.
But did you like the send off, this like ending of the show?
Okay,
did you feel satisfied?
Raven, again, as we said, like they shaved a couple of years off, but yes. Beast Boy, I do like it. I'm a little bit confused on the mechanics of it, right? So whether like he's the sole avatar for the Red in like the whole multiverse, and then everyone else is just like little captains and looking out for their patch kind of deal, you know, like sheriffs or whatever. So I'm assuming that's the case. And then the fact that he's going to go off and just commune with everybody, I think is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Starfire and Dick going off to Star Family, I absolutely love, because they've had great chemistry from the start. They really have. I'm trying to think now. And then Tim's going to university, isn't he? And he's back and forthing with Gotham.
Yeah, that one felt weird to me. That one felt like, get this man, like, he just became Robin. Why would he be on his own now? Like, it feels like he needs...
Yeah, especially with Batman being off because he killed people. Killed the Joker recently.
At least have him go work with, like, Jason or something. Like, at least that would have made a... I don't know.
Yeah. I do understand why he would be back and forthing as well, though, because
Parents, yeah,
Bernard does not look like the type of guy that accepts change very well or that
yeah,
would leave his lab. And obviously, Tim, his heart is in Gotham and with Bernard, so that's definitely why I understand
sure.
being torn between the two.
Superboy also felt weird to me because like he just
Uh,
rejoined and now he's like I'm off. I was like, you can meet Superman, and just come back. Like you don't have like you don't like Superman's not going to be spending all his time with Connor. You know, I don't
no,
think so at least, unless
no.
he becomes like he adopts him or something. I don't know.
I know, and then you'd kind of like wonder about his motives. Do you know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
initially he was like, "Yeah, I have no interest. I know he's been doing good, but I'll get to it, in my own time." And then the second he's like, he's starting to think about Lex. Then Superman's like, "Well, now I'm interested. Now I'm interested. Now I want to make sure, So I'm going to keep
Yeah,
him here every day to make sure that this hair stays on his head." So, so who knows?
sure. It's hard to say because we've never seen that Superman on screen. Like he has such a big presence in this universe, but it's hard to know what he's like or whatever. They definitely pulled a Supergirl season 1
It's
where
because he's off world in Naomi's universe. That's what it was. Just popped in just to take care of
yeah,
the guy and then zip back out again.
I wonder if they want like what would you do with Superman in this universe? I don't know. I don't know if I would have wanted it or not.
No, he's too god level. Like Superboy was overpowered, not overpowered. He was like superpowered enough, and
Hmm.
obviously he's only a fraction of Superman's power.
I would
Um,
I would have to imagine he's quite old because Bruce is very old in this universe, unless it's a young Superman with a old uh like Batman.
that's another thing is how would you age Superman, right? Because
Yeah.
by Batman Beyond and stuff, they've got him with like the gray things around the side.
Hmm.
I wouldn't even age him up that much.
Sure.
Honestly, like how the Kryptonian physiology is supposed to work and how his
Yeah.
healing is supposed to work. Like he heals better than the Wolverine, I would imagine, giving him the bit of sunlight. So
I think an older Superman story would be a lot of fun. Like I love this idea of like what happens to Clark Kent when everyone around him grows old and he stays the same. Like I think that's so interesting.
hmm.
Because you would have to imagine the like identity of Clark Kent would have to die for just like the secret of Superman to stay alive. And I think this idea of like Clark having to watch Lois age and get older is so fascinating. Like I would like if I ever made a Superman movie, that would be the Superman movie I would make because I just find that concept so like interesting.
Because the interesting thing about that is he already has to treat her like wet cardboard.
Yeah,
So like when she gets older, he's gonna have to even more treat her like a feather, which is gonna be fascinating to deal with.
yeah,
I love that idea.
yeah. No, I would like if no one has done that already, I think someone should because I think it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
Where
so
would you
yeah,
sorry, quickly, where would
good.
you have Superman though? Would you have him like kind of um like more of like a Dr. Manhattan type where he's just kind of distanced himself from
Mm,
humanity, or
I
would you
think so.
he leans more into it because he's lost everything else, so he kind of goes like overboard?
Mm, I think he would distance. I think he would step away a little bit. Like I think he would still save people, but I don't think he'd be as much of a figure. I think it would become more of like a job to him than like a like who he is kind of thing. Um, I think
Okay.
I think this idea of him like trying to balance his beliefs, but also getting torn down by like his life, turning out the way it has. Like I guess I don't know. I feel like you could have an interesting. I feel like it would have to be like the opposite of Logan were like a hopeful version of Logan, I guess, and because
Okay.
those two characters are so drastically different, I feel like they would be totally different films.
I feel like if he distanced himself, I feel like in my head it would be more saves from like natural disasters more than crime. Do you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Unless like in Batman Returns where Superman like Bruce says like Superman, you'll like do anything anyone with a badge or a flag says. So like he could go like the whole other way and then just be like really hardcore on crime to where it's like an authoritarian state.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah,
and then
definitely.
like he's not the bad guy because he's just doing what the leader says. You know,
Sure.
so like how can he be in the wrong kind of thing? Yeah.
Interesting. So I did want to pull up here. Some like there were a lot of statements had about what the future of Titans could have been. And I think some of these are kind of interesting going into season 5 and potentially a spinoff and all this stuff. So apparently in season 5 they were going to reintroduce Jinx, which makes sense to me. Like I think Jinx this season, like it was so weird because they made her a suit. They like presented her as such a massive character.
Didn't she die or did she come back?
She died. Yeah, they gave her a suit, and then one episode later she died. And I didn't understand it, but it would make sense if they maybe had plans to recompense her and then maybe bring her back.
I was gonna say, like, how does that work? Because I don't know what her like. I don't know, power is just luck. So like,
she's like magic. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh my god, it's just hit me who that is. You know, in Teen Titans Go, is she the one
Jinx,
with the pink hair? Oh my god, that's so cool.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah, there's those like 3 villains that like keep coming up, and yeah.
Oh my god, that little guy with the machines. They missed out.
And then next, apparently they wanted to bring in Terra, which if you've seen some of the like animated movies and like the old Titans TV show, which is one of I'll be honest, I have not finished that animated show yet. I'm like 3 seasons, I haven't finished it yet. But so far Terra has been the best stuff of that show for me. Like I think that 2nd season with Terra and Beast Boy is so interesting, and I wonder how they would do Terra in season 5 because Slade's dead. And Terra is usually connected to Slade and his motives, and I also kind of feel like we did that with
Savage.
Oh, what's her name? In season 2 with Rose, where like Rose went undercover for Slade. That's kind of very similar to that story. So I wonder how different this adaptation would have been.
It does feel like a recycled plot, doesn't it?
So I wonder if she has nothing to do with Slade here, if you kind of like completely remake her character. She's definitely a character I've always wondered why she didn't appear and kind of where we would have put her in. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought if anything they would have had her over Rose. I love Rose. Don't get me wrong, and I'm glad we got Rose. I just thought, like, hearing the story, that's who you thought, like, because that's who they normally have in that place, you know.
Sure.
And
I wonder, because again, that would be like retreading water. But I do wonder if you could do a plot line where like she was close to Slade, then Slade dies, and then she wants like revenge on Slade. So maybe then she goes undercover, because I think that's the most interesting thing about what I've seen from Terra is that she goes undercover, she becomes like a family to them, and then she turns on them. Like I think that's the fun part of that.
Yeah, also, that definitely happened with Rose, though, didn't it? Because
like that's basically what happened with Rose.
Hey, sorry, cat time.
And I also wonder, because normally Terra is a love interest for Beast Boy, and they didn't do anything with Raven and Beast Boy just because of the age, I assume, because I think the actress that played Raven was like underaged, and Raven and Beast Boy was like 24 or whatever. So I wonder if they would have gave Gara love interest with Terra. And I don't know, like this version of Beast Boy is also very different than the version I'm used to.
Yes.
The very like hyper excited Beast Boy that kind of goes along with Terra's like.
Are you upset that he only turned green as an animal?
Not really. I think I didn't need him green. Out of all the things he changed.
Green, but I would have liked it.
I would have too, but I didn't need it. Like I understand you need to cut some things when like adapting a story.
Just want to sit in the makeup chair. That's all that was.
Yeah, I get that. That's a change that's okay with me. Apparently they wanted to do a season that was dedicated to just Dick and Corey at the core. Now I wonder if that would have been season 4 with the way they ended this season. Like I wonder if they set this up And if it got another season, if season 4 would have been about Dick and Corey, just kind of on their own, maybe putting together like a new Titans, because that's something I kind of had in my head while exiting this episode. It was like, okay, all these characters left. If you got like another season, it would be kind of cool if you brought in a bunch of these characters who we never got to see, you know? If you could bring in like a Roy Harper or like a Bumblebee or a Kid Flash or something, or even Cyborg. We never saw a Cyborg here. I guess we kind of have now, but
that Roy Harper storyline in Young Justice, where it's a double agent.
Oh, it's so good.
One turns up with his arm missing and everything.
Yeah.
They could have done a version of that and it would have blown me away. Honestly, just so good.
Roy Harper is a character that I'll always be kind of sad we didn't cover, because I think he's such an interesting force here.
Sorry, cats fighting. Yeah, for sure. Roy Harper definitely, and especially because they did go back to the original Titans, so there could have been even a tease of just like scanning past a locker that had his name on it. Nothing in there.
They name dropped him in like season 2, but that was about it.
Really, I've forgotten that. I've forgotten that. That got washed up in the sea of Red Hoodness. Just there's a lot I've like kind of pushed together with this.
Sure.
I gotta say though, I feel like it's a genius masterstroke that as the show is finishing, they put in something that's going to be making the show a talking point and relevant for a long time. In the tie-in with Crisis.
Sure.
Because it's gone from, that show that liked to swear a lot and had a lot of blood in it, but to now it's, dude, you should see how that thing tied everything together as well, you know?
Sure. And it's crazy, they didn't want them involved in Crisis. Like, a bunch of those actors had a fit when they were in Crisis, which I've never understood. I think that's dumb, but...
That's nuts. I didn't know that. That's nuts.
Yeah, I know the actor who played Hank was upset, which was weird because he started on Smallville. Like, he was on Smallville. I don't know why he's complaining. I know the actor who played Gar was very upset. He was not fond with... Which, again, is also funny because he crossed over with Stargirl. So, I don't know. It's weird.
Is that actually true, or is that just like...
He went on Twitter. Yeah, they went on Twitter and spoke out about...
Wow.
Not knowing that they were involved and seeming to be pretty upset.
Maybe it's because they didn't get a paycheck.
I think they, like... I just don't think they wanted involved with like CW stuff, which I don't understand. I can try and send it to you later if I can find it. But the big talking point, I bet you've heard about this on Twitter. I talked about it a little bit on Twitter, is that there was a Red Hood spin-off show in the works, and then after everything with like Warner Brothers, it's no longer happening, obviously. But would you have wanted a Jason Todd Red Hood spin-off?
No. No shade on the actor. He tried something. I just didn't vibe with it. I mean, there's a lot of people that loved his take on Red Hood, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Like you said, like there wasn't enough time to have passed. There wasn't enough time for like the mania to kind of set in, because like while he might have a singular vision, the dude's crazy as a bag of cats, you know what I mean? And he has to fight that, especially when he reforms, you know. He has to fight that like daily because he was dead, I mean, and then like reprogrammed a little bit with the Lazarus pit. I mean, all of that's a whole thing that got like, I feel, robbed from us a bit, you know. And there wasn't enough time to like grieve and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know the whole point is like one of the reasons that Jason Todd like twigged in the first place and like in the animated thing is because Batman got a sidekick pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But he didn't in this case. He just went and found the guy and crowbarred him. So um, the fact that he came back a villain at all when Batman went and straight handled business, I don't understand. I
Yeah.
mean, justice was served. So like all of it is just a real misstep for me. So and then to have the spin-off, I feel like like the club scenes in Arrow.
Hmm.
I feel like it would have been so heavily that kind of vibe that it would have just distracted from everything else.
Yeah.
Were you excited? Would you have liked it?
I'm mixed because like as just like like just like a Bat Family show, as just like a vigilante show, I think it could have been cool. First off, I feel it's so bad for this actor because I think this actor has such a passion for this character. He's
Really?
spoken out like since season 2. He's been so excited to play this character. He's been fighting for the spinoff. He's wants to play this character. So I think for his sake, I feel bad for him because I think you could do something cool here. I think you could, but what you're saying, I think starting a Red Hood show here after all the cool stuff was wasted is kind of depressing. Like, I think if you start at the beginning of Jason Todd's story and you did the show to the end of the story, you could have one of the most interesting, most like unique shows ever. Like, give that a high budget, really dive into how this character feels and how he operates and the world of DC. And I again, like this, like if I was to pitch a show to like James Gunn, I'm like, do this show because I think you could do like a really really good Jason Todd show. I think you could make it absolutely amazing.
Do you think that like that would be possible without a lot of tap dancing? Because I obviously we're complaining about the little they put in the show.
Yeah.
But they put in a little bit, but they cemented a time frame. Do you know what I mean? So there's like a lot of like pirouetting around stuff that they kind of need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or would you be happy with a retcon / this is like Earth 10?
In this universe, you mean?
No. Would you be like either it's a retcon in this universe or that it's like literally like looking at the one next over? Do you know what I mean? So we literally get to see all of the stuff that you want play out and it doesn't affect Titans. Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't need a retcon.
No, I mean, I just think it was just kind of too late. Like, again, I think you could have told a really cool Red Hood story here. I also think Red Hood's weird here when you have a Batman that kills. Like, I think that kind of defeats what's interesting about Red Hood is that, like, back and forth between Bruce and Batman, Bruce not killing, not crossing that line. Like what makes him any different than Bruce now? Like, I think that kind of tears a lot of that down. And again, it could have been cool. Like, I think you could have done some cool stuff here. Maybe Tim's a part of that show. I don't know. I also just think, like, there's been so many characters throughout the years that I think could have held their own show. Like, I had said for years, a Donna Troy show would have been really, really cool. Even a Superboy show. Like, I said, like, that season 2 episode was a backdoor pilot, in my opinion. Like, it felt like a backdoor pilot. And I was done watching, I was like, okay, where's his show? Like, give me a show about Superboy. And I don't know about that after season 4, after everything. But I think if after season 2 you gave him a show, that would have been great. Even, like, I said for years, like, you could just do a Bat Family show with, like, Dick Grayson and Tim Drake and Jason. Like, that's a more interesting show. Obviously, you couldn't do that because half those characters are in Titans, but Oracle is there. You know, like, there's things you could probably do there. Obviously, all this is over now. We're not touching this universe, I don't think, ever again.
Do you know what could happen, though? You could literally have a short series of Beast Boy going through the red and just having like a whole multiversal story of where he's saving nature. You know, it could just be, like you said, like a whole serialized thing of just oh, we got a bad guy of the week, he's threatening a wildlife reserve, the next one's threatening a zoo and the tiger in there, you know. So like Beast Boy has to swap out with a tiger, but why is this one green? You know, it could be silly as hell. You know, like we don't care. You know, we just want to see these guys, and and that could because that could really expand the DC universe in a way that is meaningful to fans, but means nothing in the grand scheme of everything.
Sure.
You know.
I would be curious because I don't know if you heard, we talked about this in our last stream, but it was revealed for Stargirl season 4. If they got a season 4, it was going to be about the multiverse, and it was going to tie in what Gar had done at the end of season. In this season, there was talks about maybe bringing him back, and then them crossing over for Flash and different shows and stuff. So I wonder if there were plans to continue this ongoing Gar story. With either this or Stargirl, or a Doom Patrol or something. I don't know. I would be curious. I would just be kind of curious what season 4 or season 5, I guess, of Titans would look like, because they obviously had. I saw a writer talked about once how they had plans, they wanted to go 10 seasons for Titans, and
Wow.
I wonder what all there's a lot you could do here. So I would be curious to see what all they would have covered, even if it wasn't always my favorite show. I do appreciate the show bringing in so many characters and costumes, and I think this cast is absolutely amazing. I will miss this cast. I think they did a great job.
Really, really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good. And I didn't even recognize Brendan, because I'd seen him in other movies, like Gods of Egypt or whatever it is. I think he's in. And then when he's on screen, saying Batman and that, I was so absorbed in what he was doing.
Sure.
Starfire was just one of the standouts of the show every time. No matter what she was doing, I was fully invested, and I was dying to see where it was going. I would have loved to have seen more Tamaran.
Yeah.
I feel like that was underutilized. So that's the theme of the show.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I think that's all Titans for me, where it's that was good, but I wanted it to be better. I want more. I wanted more out of Titans. I think that's my thoughts on the whole thing. Each season there's that was cool. The idea was cool. Let's execute it maybe a little better next time.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was a lot of telling a story and then having to go back to tell this person's part of the story, and then going back to tell this person's part of the story, and then they switch over a little bit, go forward, and then they got to tell this person's part of the story. So there was a lot of catching up, where there could have been more diverse story,
Yeah, I have always called Titans a fashion show. It looks really cool, and they got all these cool characters and costumes and locations and name drops, but just kind of walk around and doing stuff. There's not much actual substance to what's happening. They're just kind of walking around and showing off. And I think they got better. I really do think that as the show got on, I think season 4, it did feel like they kind of had a grasp on, okay, this is what we are now, and it felt like they finally got the hang of it. And it sucks that it got canceled now, because I think they could have got better as the show got on, or it could have just been the same of what we've got. I don't know. But before we have gone on for about an hour and a half now, I appreciate everyone who's been watching. I do want to do one last thing. Do you have any final thoughts on Titans before we?
Would you have taken Raven? Obviously, we said that we'd like to have had her end up where she ended up, but if you did have another season or 2 of her, what would you have done with her?
I think just have her grow into a person, because this season was building up her. I don't need to be dark. I can have a life, and I just think maybe slowly turn into that character. And again, I think Titans is a show where I would have liked a rotating cast. So I think showing maybe Raven's leadership, and maybe as she gets more experience with her powers, now maybe she trains some of these newer characters that come in. Maybe she trains a Bumblebee or whatever. I think that could have been really cool. I think there's a world where Gar would leave the show at some point, maybe, or Connor would leave the show at some point, and then you bring all these other characters, have this big rotating cast. I think that could have been really cool. And again, I do think her ending up like going to college and finally being able to move on from the Titans is really cool. And I do think the final, like, I think the idea of everyone kind of moving on with their life, like Titans being a place where people grow and then can move on to better things, is great. Like, that's a perfect ending. I think you definitely have like scored this like found family idea that I think Titans needs. And I feel like they haven't always been able to land in previous seasons. But I think this season I think they definitely got it.
Like superhero rehab.
Yeah. And then ultimately the story being like Dick was the one that learned the most out of everything. Like, he's the one that needed the most help moving on from what I guess this Batman did to him, because this Batman seemed pretty not great.
Yeah, because he was more like Jason than anyone wants to admit.
Yeah.
Like, he had to really keep being pulled back, if not by Raven, by Starfire.
Sure. Alrighty, so I'm moving on. Again, we've been streaming for a while now, but I do want to. I thought it'd be very fun to end the stream here with an article I've seen going around the internet the past day or two. So this is an article from, I don't know if you've heard of them, Bam Smack Pow. They do a lot with the Arrowverse. They talk a lot about this stuff. And this was an article I thought it'd be fun to go back and forth and talk about really quick, to see if we agree or if we disagree on this list that they made, this ranking that they made. And this is the 11 most disliked Arrowverse characters. Now, I've seen some of these already, so I know some of what's coming. But I don't know what's coming. I thought it would be fun to see if you agree or if you disagree with this ranking.
All right. Be great.
Let me know if my oopsies. If my audio is good here. Yeah. It's all good? You can hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So this is the 11 most disliked Arrowverse characters. Before we jump in, do you have any like predictions on like who you would think is the most like disliked Arrowverse characters?
Disliked. See, I would say Goldface, right? But for me, he just brought everything back when he's by himself. And when he was with the Hotness and Mark and Pied Piper, their chemistry was great. And him talking about how much he loves Amunet, but he screwed her over and stuff. It was just really funny. The dude's hilarious. So maybe Amunet. I'm going to say Bashir and Faweza, solely because, like, for me, I'm pretty sure those were the ones that kept
forces, yeah.
They are the ones that more than anybody kept saying mum and dad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Certainly Bashir. I feel like there's got to be somebody from Supergirl. Maybe Terry Hatcher's character. And the Hawks from Legends.
Yeah, they're probably on there.
What about you?
Not naming anyone that I haven't, because I've seen a couple of these. Not naming any of those, I would say Mona from Legends was pretty bad for me. She was pretty bad.
I was thinking about her the other day. Yeah. Wonderful actress. I've seen her in other stuff. She's great. But
she's great. No hate to her. I didn't like Gary, but he did grow on me over the years. And then I'm going to throw a prediction that people would say Iris, but I like Iris. But I know a lot of people.
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get what people have got against her. She is wonderful, and she's just grown with the character, honestly.
Yeah, I think there's been weird moments, weird scenes with her, but I don't think the character itself is annoying. So first up here. All right, this is okay. Page 1. Okay. The first one was saying.
Oh my God!
That's the
picture. That's what they choose. That's a sting, isn't it? Like that, we're teasing everybody. The most hated, and we're whacking Chegra to tease everybody. Man, they knew their audience, didn't they? They knew.
You know, I'm pretty shocked Donna is this low. I guess. Right?
I am. Yeah.
Yeah, I would argue this is my number 1 or 2 most disliked Arrowverse characters.
I would definitely have a top 5.
Mhm.
Um,
So I have a love-hate with like Felicity Smoke, right? I love her in moments. I dislike her in most. Donna
Yeah.
Smoke is everything I don't like about Felicity, rolled into a package. One giant, unlikable, cringeworthy package. And
Okay,
again,
so did you like her on screen more or less during her time with Quentin Lance?
less because I felt bad for my boy. Like he deserves better.
Love Quentin Lance.
I love him
Love
so
that
much.
guy. And again, he started off as a dick. Do you know what I mean? But man, did you
Yeah,
love that man?
I'm glad they learned after a while that this character did not work and she did not come back.
Yeah.
Oh, and next up here we have Evelyn Sharp. Do people hate Evelyn Sharp? I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Did they? Okay.
Who
I
was
had no
she?
idea.
Who was she?
She
Artemis.
was in Arrow season 5. So
The Artemis, or what was her code name?
she was Artemis, yeah. So she first appeared in season 4 where she pretended to be Laurel Lance after
Yeah,
she died.
yeah.
And then season 5 she joined Team Arrow, but she was secretly working for Adrian Chase. And then she was on the island and it blew up and we never saw her again. So I
Okay.
guess I can understand why people might dislike her.
Yeah, because everybody sat there pissed off about Laurel Lance, and then she's
Sure,
pulling this shit. She started off on the wrong foot. She
that's
she was
true.
not gonna get people liking her.
I think I was more upset at the fact that we never did a true Artemis. Like that felt like a big Arrow character that again we technically did because of her, but it felt like we never. Like I felt like we would have done her over like a second Laurel or like a second Black Canary or even like a Mr. Terrific type character. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
Plus,
feel
like
bad.
that actress is good at being dicks.
She's good. She's great.
She is good, and she's also good at being like a brash, like kind of
Hmm.
strong, opinionated person who you kind of like. Well, she's fine, but I'm keeping her at a distance. You know.
Sure.
So like she plays those people really well. So for her to be on this list, I'm not surprised.
All right. Up next, we have Cecile, which not surprised. Honestly, surprised she's not higher.
I'm
She.
she gets way okay, right, okay. So
Ooh, drama.
I get it, that Eric Wallace gives her too much, but it's not her
Hmm.
fault. Do you know what I mean?
No,
What are you gonna do? Turn down a paycheck?
it's not the actress's fault. No, I don't think it's really most of the time. It's never an actor's fault, and I never want to hate an actor or an actress for playing a role. That's never my no. Like this, like everything we talk about is going to be the character itself.
Yeah.
Cecile's a weird one for me because I used to love her. Like early on, it wasn't until like season. It wasn't really until last season. Like season 7, she had some bad stuff, but it really wasn't until last season. So I was like, all right, we have enough. Like I've reached my full of Cecile, and I think
I
her,
got so annoyed the second they whacked her in that thinker's chair.
yeah,
That pissed me right off. Sorry.
I
But
think
yeah.
she's. I feel so again bad because she's one of those characters where I just have to wonder why are they still here. And obviously, it's a situation where you have this cast, this tight crew cast, and you don't want to fire them, you don't want to get rid of them, but you obviously don't know what to do with this character. You obviously don't know what she doesn't, for me at least, bring anything to the show. And I think this could you can argue this for a lot of the Flash cast currently, where I don't think they fit. Like I don't think they longer fit on the show.
Do you think like Eric Wallace has a hard time with goodbyes or something? Like because I feel like each time that a main person has gone, like it's the actor that's like, I need to kind of just go do me a little bit. So he has to write them off the show. But
Yeah,
for the most part, he's like, it makes sense for her to be off for like a season or two, but let's
yeah,
find her something to do. I
sure.
want to keep
Well,
her employed.
I even said this season where like it doesn't feel like any character is getting an ending. Like Dreamer came back one last time, and they introduced more stuff for her to do. Wally came back and they set up more stuff for him to do. He's talked about the series finale of Flash, and it seems like it's going to be a very open-ended, like, see you next time type ending, which, again, I'm fine with that part, I guess. But
you want that, though, because I feel like if there was anything too final for the characters, then their journey's done.
Sure.
I mean, there's still so much growing for Wally to do, even more so because he's yet to become the Flash. I mean, he's going to be taking that mantle on at some point in the future.
I don't think he will, because in like the future, in like the comics, he's still Kid Flash, like 20 years from now, which is frustrating in many ways.
I'm not even going to touch that one then. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, let's move on here because we could talk about Sisu for a while.
But Dreamer, I would also say like that's nice as well, because it's like with what we got with Stargirl in that their story is like an open-ended legacy.
Sure.
I mean, Dreamer can now go on and be Dreamer Fantastic or whoever she's going to be.
So next we have Cicada.
He was one of my guesses. Jesus Christ.
That's true. Like, I don't think about him because he's kind of a one and done, but yeah, I mean, we pretty much all kind of didn't. I know a couple of people who do really like this character. And he's weird because I think he has a lot of potential. Like, I think the idea of like a meta-human serial killer is sick, and I love that. Yeah, it's just the execution that I don't think works.
As well, like Chris Klein is a good actor. He does funny. He can do serious really well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it was his choice or the director's choice to kind of ham it up a little bit. Sure. But it was a strong choice nonetheless. Let's just say that. But I think, like you said, there was a lot of clay that they could have done with it, and I think they just kind of dropped half of it on the floor.
I think he's a villain that needed a half of a season, not a full season.
Yeah.
I think Cicada as an arc was like 22 episodes was nuts for this kind of character.
Because like for the longest time he was just unbeatable. Like there wasn't even any ground you could make. Do you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden it's now we can finish the whole thing. It's went from nothing for too long to right now we got everything really quickly. Let's get this done. So I'm right on that one.
Up next here we have Mon-El.
Yep.
Which you don't like Mon-El. Okay. Honestly, this character is so divisive because I feel like you either love this character or you hate him. And I'm kind of in the middle where I guess I don't. I'm pretty indifferent about this character, I guess.
I think okay. I'm not sure about Melissa and Chris's relationship, whether it started on the show or preceded it. But I feel like the show fully benefited from that relationship. And honestly, like, I don't know. I think like much in the same way as Lois Lane and Clark Kent are very particular. I like Supergirl is another person that you have to be very particular in who you partner them with. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, he's not horrible. Don't get me wrong. He did a great job. I don't know.
I have no beef with Mon-El, I guess. Like I never had. I think in season 2 I didn't like him. Like I didn't love him in season 2 if I remember correctly at first. But then kind of looking back at the show and at season 3, I think he did a fine job. And I don't know. I know that it's such a like. I know the Supergirl fan base is such a wild place. Like if you love him, then half the fan base hates you, and if you hate him, half the fan base hates you.
Oh no, not at all. I'm not in that camp. Like, and this is the funny thing is like when he turned up, Supergirl was the dick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was he from day one was trying. The most he was like really flirtatious and like a bit free with it, like that's the worst you can say about the guy, other than the fact that he just genuinely tries. So he's to have him in the show fine. You know, love that. I would have just paired him with somebody else. Do you know what I mean? That's my whole
Yeah.
thing. That's literally it.
You know, I will say it's so weird too at the same time, because early Supergirl went so hard on like relationships and none of them went anywhere. Like season 1 was all about James and Kara. Like the whole season, it goes very hard about they're going to be a couple and they're going to date and this back and forth and this will they won't they.
Yeah.
To just Mon-El comes in instantly and like it's gone like overnight.
James
like
who?
it's really funny because like one line of dialogue and the whole James and Kara thing is over, and they do that again through season 2 and somewhat season 3. And like they go so hard on like Mon-El, and by season 4 and by season 5, he's like he has nothing, or no 4. Like by season 4, he has almost nothing to do with the show, and it's so crazy to think. And I personally like the ending Kara got. Like I love I love that not every show needs to end with like a couple. Like I think Supergirl, out of all characters that started out as such a like relationship show, her ending up single is really cool. Like I like that a lot. But it does make you wonder what it would have been like if they did officially get together.
I gotta say though, like her outing herself kind of put everybody else in the firing line, and like Lois and Iris aren't the only investigative journalists out there, you know, and it's not gonna take Einstein to put 2 and 2 together, you know, because all you literally got to do is follow Kara around for a little bit, see who she's friends with, you know what I mean? See that Batwoman, you know, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So
it's you know what, I like it as an ending for Supergirl, but I think it gets messy once you think about it a little bit. Once you look at the larger universe, where it's like, well, you're cousins with Clark Kent. What's up with this guy?
Yeah.
Why have I never seen these two at the same time?
He is also adopted.
Yeah. You know, it definitely opens up issues. It doesn't bother me, but I definitely see why some people were pretty upset about it. So next up here, we have, again, another villain, Vandal Savage.
I loved Vandal Savage. That's nuts. People are crazy, man.
I wouldn't put him on this list. I don't love Vandal Savage, but I would not put him above like Cecile or Donna.
Who played in Casper something, isn't it?
What's that?
Who played in Casper something? Casper.
Let me see.
I believe. I'm terrible.
I don't think it says here.
But yeah, no.
Portrayed by Casper Crump. I will say I do not think it was the actor's fault why this story didn't land. Like I think it was. I think it was just growing pains. Like I think a show like Legends just needed to find its footing.
The issue is it set up something that seemed like a fixed point because his authoritarian state went on for so long and anti-metahuman thing went on for so long. It's almost like a fixed point of time, you know. To completely change that feels like a whole thing. So they kind of feel like they backed themselves into a corner story wise. But obviously I have an issue with like the Hawks, but like him and Arthur Derville's, I think those two's chemistry was really good. And yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it was great. Played an arrogant villain very well because he knew, obviously, that nothing could hurt him.
Sure. Yeah, honestly, I don't know how I would, because I don't love Vandal Savage. I wouldn't say like hate him though. Like I'm like I hate it, and I think he's fine. I don't know if you just. I think it's just the story that surrounded him didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe put him in like another show. Like I think maybe he would have worked better on like a season of like The Flash instead, maybe. Or even like
kind of funny for me though that he's on the list around halfway through.
Mm-hmm.
But Legends is season 1 is everybody's favorite, apart from 2, obviously.
Oh, you think so? I would disagree.
See, I think everybody's favorite is 2 and then 1 for Legend.
I hear most people say 2 and 3.
Really?
Mm.
Which one's 3? Is that the Magical
Season
Wonderland?
3 has like Wally, and it has Damien Dark and like Gorilla Grodd.
Oh, the Time
and
Demon.
Malice.
The
Yeah.
Time Demon. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Which season 4 was Necron, wasn't it?
Yes. Season 4 is everyone's. It's my least favorite personally. I can't speak for like everyone else. I know a lot of people like it still. It's my personal least favorite though. Season 4. I think for me, season 1's middle of the road Legends, personally.
See, I was so excited every week, and then when Atom went really big to fight that robot, I lost my shit. It was so good, and I got so sorry. Yeah, go on.
No, go ahead.
I got so broken with the old Captain Cold situation.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, the series 1 had a lot of weight to it. It was very heavy. It was very dark, and it felt like there was consequence. I mean, everybody like survived for the most part. I mean, obviously, Captain Cold and that, but each week there was a kind of a thing of, like, there's a lot of people here. Someone might just get bumped off on the, like, clipped in the wing kind of deal,
Sure. I think it's I think season 1 has a lot of great moments. And a lot of cool things happen. I just think as a whole, the season's a little, at least the first half especially, is kind of dry for me. And then I think season 2 just kind of finds its footing, in my personal opinion, at least.
Season 1 I feel is very, because you get a lot of Martin, Ray, Roy, and Leonard, and those guys.
Yeah,
work so well together. You got Martin and Ray being like the goody two shoes, and then you got like Roy and Leonard being like, come on, stop, take the stick out, and then like, don't judge me for just being human, just because you're academics. It was just, it was so good. It was so good.
Honestly, it is one of those that I would like to rewatch again soon, because again, I think there's a lot of cool stuff in there. I think I love the season 2 cast a lot, because I think Nate and Amaya add a lot. I think if you could have Nate and Amaya and also Captain Cold, like, that's the perfect cast.
Yeah, it's Maisie, Richards, and Sellers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so good. All right, so up next here, we have Mona, which I called a little while ago. Mona is probably my number 1 personally. It's a toss up between Mona and Donna. Both are a pain in my side. And again, nothing against this actress. I think this woman is great, and she'll do great things. I know she's on that Netflix show that's currently wrapping up. But I cheered when she left the show. Like, when she's like, I'm going to go write the book, or like whatever she did in season 5. Yeah. I cheered because I just like this character so much, and I think this character kind of symbolizes what I didn't love about Legends season 4, and I think the weak points of Legends. Like, I like somewhat of the goofiness of Legends sometimes, but I think she is a character that took the show too far in like a direction I didn't personally love.
Yeah. I gotta say though, as much as I didn't like her, I was really hoping for a happy ending with that, like, is it Chupacabra? Or whatever she said, like the thing with the thing,
Yeah.
I was really hoping that was gonna work out, and like that could have been a happily ever after. That could have been it. We could have been done with her then. Like, she wouldn't have been hated as much. She would have been half as high on this list if that was her end. That would have been it.
Yeah.
Could have saved her. We could have saved Mona.
It's so funny because I remember when she was announced, they pitched it as like a werewolf was joining Legends of Tomorrow. And I was like, sick. That sounds awesome. And she came on the show and I was like, oh, this is what we're doing. Oh man, no, I think this is decently placed for her. I'm curious where our top 4 lands, because you already have my top 2 at the bottom here. So as we move on here, okay, yeah, fair enough. You have Champlain, which I don't hate as much as I hate some of these characters. I don't even think I hate him. I just don't understand his existence, I guess.
Yeah, okay. This is a thing where I've got to praise the actor, right? Because he was on Brandon McKnight's stream, right? And apart from literally looking like like him and Mark have like the same wardrobe when they're not in costume, which is hilarious to me. You've got to mute again if that's not you doing it. Just a heads up. And then so yeah, like super cool dude. Like obviously, like we're starting to like Mark a little bit because he's not being an ass or whatever. Um, but yeah, like he really made you hate him for like a little bit, and I like that's what the character is. Do you know what I mean? You're not supposed to like Joe Blaine in the comics or the show. So he really did it really well. Because he's a super charming dude and really cool. When he when he's not in that just ridiculous costume.
It's again, I actually think this actor is really good. Like, I legitimately think this actor is one of the better actors on the show right now because I think he does a good job with the scenes he's given. Yeah. It's just, I think, again, like a symbolizer of like, how did the show get to this point? Like, we have a show, a universe filled with so many cool characters and characters you can pull from. You can have a Ray Palmer, you can have a Ryan Choi, you can have, all these characters that we love, and we're Mark as a character. I just don't think works. In the way, like, he could have been a fine villain of the week. Villain of the week, bring him in, whatever. But he's a series regular. Again, not this actor's fault, but I think we're in a final season of The Flash. There's no Cisco, no Caitlin, no Joe, no Ralph. But Joe Blaine's a series regular, and I think that's a little frustrating.
Do you know what I would have loved to have seen with this guy? Is if like the robber that we kept getting come back.
Yes.
If we got a comedy moment like that, but it was all ice themed, if it was like super cheesy, super funny, like lent into it. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That would have been so good. Like he might have been even like just vaunted because of that, but instead we got to take him seriously. Kind of deal.
When they first introduced them, I kind of assumed we were doing something with like a makeshift Captain Cold. Like I almost thought we were doing an arc where like he took over for like a Captain Cold type character, or we do something like that. But I don't know. I don't understand. I think he's better. Like I think this actor is great, and I think he's good when he's good. Like when he's a villain, I think he's really bad. But like when he's on our side and he's helping out, he's fine. Like I think he does a fine job.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, our top three, entering into the top three. Chester and Allegra. Now I knew about Chester on this list.
No, okay, 2 and 3. I thought they put them as one. That's why I was giggling. Like they just whacked Chegra in one. No, but Chester, that's 2 and 3, really. Wow.
Again, no shade to anyone who made this list. Obviously, your own opinion. But I think this is a weird place to put these characters. I can maybe understand Allegra towards the bottom. Maybe. Because I could see that. Because, again, I don't hate these characters. I don't care, I guess is my honest opinion. Like I like Chester.
Right. They're not used right is the issue.
No, they're not.
Because Chester had his whole thing going on. He has been robbed for the last couple of seasons, which is horrific, right? And then you got Allegra, who I loved her stuff with Esperanza. I'm not going to lie. And I genuinely think that instead of killing her off, they could have turned her. And then what they could have done is they could have gone and either helped with like a trafficking thing, which her friend said that they were close to, or it could be like they're just going to go and reform like the neighborhood where they grew up. So not everybody has to like struggle like they did. You know, there's like a whole bunch of stuff they could have done with her.
Sure.
I feel like they robbed them both.
The issue is they don't do anything. Like, especially Chester, he's there to date Allegra, and he's there to give science Munjo. And I think, again, that's not always a bad thing. Like, so many of these characters have had that role, Cisco, Felicity, Curtis, but they usually have, like, ongoing storylines or, I don't know, like a character. And Chester just doesn't. Like, he only interacts with anyone outside of Allegra or Cecile when he needs to give, like, Barry a science thing, and that's it. And I think that's the issue with the whole cast, is Barry doesn't have a connection with anyone that's not currently Iris or Joe. That's it.
None of them
Like,
do, really.
no.
If you think about it, like the thing that made Team Flash work so well together is they actually were in each other's lives. Like you said, we don't see okay bye. So we don't see Chester really outside of like the speed lab or pipeline, whatever, right? And then even when he is, it's next to Allegra, you know.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's there to be science guy and romance guy. Even when like when like the thing about like Cisco and Caitlin is they were always like when they were off to go do science stuff, you always had one of them engaging about their lives. So you always got like more. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And because these guys just don't seem to give a shit, and it's just just I get all work and no play. That's fine. You know, that's how they want to run Team Flash. That's how they want to run Team Flash. But before it was more about camaraderie than it is now, but they still got the "We Are Team Flash" banner up. You know, in a time when it just feels the least genuine.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that was Caitlin's whole story, is that her entire life was Team Flash. That was her whole thing. And even then, she still had, like, a rich history behind her. Like, she had this stuff with her mom and her dad and losing Ronnie. And, like, she had such a deep connection outside of that. Cisco, of course, he had his family, and he had his brother, and he had Gypsy, and he had all these passions and thrives and such a personality to go along with it. And they never put in the work for any of these characters. They just kind of they put them in where the other characters were and expected them to work. And that's why I think he does, like, the show works with like already established characters, and that this season has proved it with Oliver and Wally and Singh and all of these characters who have been there for a while. Like, they just work here because they already have the groundwork done. So you can kind of just slip them in and it works fine. You can't, I don't know, just like this season proved, though, like, this supporting cast just doesn't work, I guess.
Like even if she just casually just asked him about his streaming, or like, have you made anything cool recently, or just engage with people, you know. Like, we're supposed to be moving into Cecile's house, but I genuinely don't believe that when Team Flash is being discussed, you all sit in the same room together.
Yeah. I think his best episode was from season 7 when it's him and Cisco, and like they go on this like whole road trip thing throughout time, and like he has stuff with his father, and like it was like fall into that. Like, I think Chester, like, they tried to do this like I don't want to make weapons or hurt people, and I remember thinking that was kind of dumb, but at least that's better than nothing. Like, it's better like fall into that idea than doing nothing with this character.
Yeah. I didn't like it. I did, and I didn't like that as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, I get it, and I did. I kind of liked that was an interesting choice, but it was very limiting, especially since half of what Cisco made were guns.
Yeah, that's a situation where, like, okay, if you feel like that, then you probably shouldn't be on a superhero team where you have to fight people.
Yeah, we got your CV. We got your CV. We will give you a call.
Yeah. But yeah, the last one we have here. Do you have any predictions on what the final one is?
Oh, see the list. It's been somewhat surprising. Ooh.
I think I know who it is because I saw the thumbnail for this article. So I'm not gonna say. I'll let you pick someone who you think might be on here though.
Felicity.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Yep, Felicity.
Oh,
Yeah, she was the thumbnail, so I kind of figured that it may have been her. I don't
I
disagree. I disagree with this one too. At least at number one, I think.
no, 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 for sure. Especially not above her dog damn mother.
Yeah. Oh no. Because I think Felicity has so many great moments as well. Like she can get really annoying. She had, let's be honest, some of the worst stuff in Arrow. But I think
Yeah,
when she worked really, really well. And I do love this character when she
yeah.
does. And again, I think above Donna, above Mona, above Mark, a little weird in my opinion.
Didn't like her goth phase, but you know, that's
Oh, yeah, that season 3, season 4 era for Felicity was rough. It was pretty.
yeah. It's season 4, the wheelchair.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, so like you said, like the thing is when she was like in her game mode, I really believed it. I didn't sit there and think, right, well, this is an actress that has sat there 12 hours before, like sitting there with a glass of wine, stressing, like, oh, I need to remember these lines. You know, um, I genuinely believed that she was like an experienced hacker and knew what she was doing. So I bought into it. Um, so I guess that may be why, like, with the moments that didn't hit, like they really didn't hit.
Yeah.
So so again, it's not anything to do with her. It's literally what they were giving her, and what she had to work with, um, which is unfortunate, you know.
True.
But she had a tough job. She had a tough
Mm-hmm.
job. We keep talking about like how hard it is to cast the partner of a hero, and for Oliver Queen, the amount of change he has had while still keeping the veneer of Batman, of the stoic, I'm going to show nothing face, but the second that door shut and we're alone, balloons. So, um, like she's got like a lot of like tones to match and like levels to deal with. So she handled it phenomenally well.
Yeah, I agree. I think I also think it's worth stating that like she's one of the OGs, man. Like I think there's something really
Yeah,
special about that OG cast of Arrow that
yeah,
I could never truly hate. And she's been through this character has been through so many episodes, so many crossovers. Was a big part of like early Flash, and she like she was even on Legends of Tomorrow. Like there's been a lot with this character, and again, I have a love hate with her as a whole, but I like her. I would put her probably near the bottom, like below a lot of these characters that we've talked about.
for sure,
Um,
for sure. Like yeah, because like the main reason that she'd be in the list at all is for a giggle, because like you said, like I feel like she's got tenure. So like, can she be in the list? Like you say, they've had to find something cohesive to the story and her character for her to do
yeah,
8 seasons and keep people engaged. It's not
mm,
always going to land,
no,
Um, and especially because of the restrictions they gave themselves at the start. Obviously, they were going for like a no powers situation, and then that
mm-hmm,
all changed, and then they themselves went through a couple of evolutions in the show. So
sure.
that she had to keep up with as well while trying to make it make sense. So
And I also think she would often have to be like a foil for like Oliver. Like I think they gave her a lot of storylines that put her against him, which made
yeah,
it hard. Like I'm like if you're against Oliver Queen, you're not gonna like this person because he's our main character. And I honestly think they did that with a bunch of characters. Like in season 6, they put like the whole cast against him. It's like, well, now we hate all of you guys. Like it's a weird thing. But with that all being said, we've gone over 2 hours, and I want to appreciate you for coming on here and chatting
thank you
with
for
me.
having
There's
me.
a lot of topics here. We talked a lot of things about Titans and MCU and Arrowverse and all that fun stuff. But again, thank you, Darth, and thank you for everyone who did pop in today and chatted with us for a little while. I will be back on Friday. I'm working during the Flash this week, unfortunately, but I will be back Friday talking everything about the week, going into this last episode of The Flash, and then gearing up for episode 13, the series finale of The Flash, and all the. I'm hoping by Friday we will learn if Superman and Lois is canceled, or if it's renewed, or if it's HBO, or whatever it's doing. We don't really know. But again, thank you, Darth, popping in here. All of his links are linked down below if you want to go check him out and all of his stuff. You guys can do that. All again, linked down below. But without further ado, I will see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.